Hi, I'm Charlie, and yesterday I had the wonderful opportunity to present at the TTI Spring Conference. And we had a little bit of time, and I had to go quite fast. And so I wanted to take the opportunity to re record that session so that you're able to pause and to go back and to take some notes about some of the tools that I demonstrated. So the premise is simple. We're going to build a web app, and it is going to help a holiday rep that is in a resort to match guests to potential tours that they might want to take in the local area while they're at the resort. And this app is going to have all the details of the possible tours that are available. It's going to have access to the guests. And the scenario would be that the rep is sitting down with one of the guests and they're providing a bit of information about what they like doing, what their budget is, how many are in their group, and so on. And we're going to be building this in a tool called Lovable. What I'm going to walk you through is a bit of my process that I use when I'm building out web applications, either for myself or for clients. So the first step was to pick a destination, and attendees in the audience had been talking about Las Vegas. So Las Vegas as the destination. So one of the first things that I wanted to demonstrate was, okay, well, let's come up with 10 tours that we want to introduce into our application. And it was a good opportunity to show some of the new breed of reasoning models or thinking models that are coming out from the AI providers. These are not just optimizing for giving you a quick answer, but they're actually going away and doing more considered thinking and reporting back after a period of time. So the first thing that I showed was Grok. So Grok.com. Grok is an AI model that comes from Elon Musk's XAI outfit. Was only launched, Grok 3 was only launched a few weeks ago. And even on their free account, you get amazing functionality. And that's what I want to demonstrate here. So I've added in a prompt that I need a detailed research report on guided tours available in Las Vegas. Please create this for each tour. I want the tour name, the summary, highlights, some practical details, some local insights, and so on. And so what you can see here with deep search from Grok is that it's not coming back immediately with the response. It's actually thinking through. There's a lot to research here. I'm going to go and have a look at these 10 results. Then I'm getting the information back. Then I'm doing some more searching. And we can see that over the course of what ran for about 6 or 7 minutes, Grok goes through 132 different sources. And if I scroll down here, we now get a very considered and detailed report, the like that you might get from a consulting firm if you had provided them with this task. So key points, the tour overview, detailed research report with the tour listings, and for each of those tours, the interest category, the budget range, the duration, the family friendliness, which were some of the things that we had asked. And then for each of those individual tours, we've got the details, all the different filters that we might use in our application. So that's Grok, and we use the deep search functionality there. And this may still be running. It is still running. I've done the same thing here in ChatGPT, and here we have the deep research functionality, and that is doing the same thing as well. So up here, comprehensive guide for each tour, and it's going to map that out as well. So whichever tool you're using, whether that's ChatGPT or Grok, you've got this ability for this deep research that gives you these reports. So I've taken the one from Grok, and what I've then done is I've created a project in Claude. Now, if you're not familiar with Claude, Claude comes from a company called Anthropic, and Anthropic was set up by many of the original people from OpenAI who create ChatGPT. So if you've used ChatGPT, you'd be familiar with using Claude. Now, one of the main reasons why I love using Claude, and it's really my default go-to AI model, is the concept of a project, which you get if you're on their pro plan where you are paying for the account, not on the free one. So with a project, it really acts as a wrapper around a set of similar tasks or a topic that you want to ask and work around. So here I've created a tour matcher project. We're building a tour matching app to connect guests to great tours while they're in resort. Here I've provided it with some instructions. You're my product manager, helping me to build a web application. In your project knowledge, you've got access to a list of possible tours, and we'll be building our app within Lovable and using Supabase as our backend database. So here we provided it with a role and some instructions about how it's going to be helping us. What I've then been able to do is to add in some project knowledge to our project. And I can do this through a number of ways. So I can either upload a file. So maybe I've got a PDF or a Word document that describes a policy or a process or our product. In this case, I've been able to add in information from our Google Drive file, because that's what that's what I use here. And you can also bring in code from a GitHub repository. And this is all about giving Claude as much information about the topic so that when you then ask a question, you don't have to provide all of that information again. So having done that, one of the next things that I have wanted to do is to create a product requirements document so that I've got a very detailed overview of what our project is going to do, our product is going to do. And so for that, I'm going over to a product called ChatPRD, ChatPRD.ai. And this is set up by Claire Vaux, who is the Chief Product and Technology Officer at a company called Launch Darkly, a very experienced product manager and product leader. And she's built a platform that helps product teams to create really the unit of work for product teams, which is a PRD, a product requirement document. And within ChatPRD, we have a huge number of templates: PRD, API documentation, go-to-market plans. And what I love about this is that I get to benefit from years, decades of experience from a very experienced product manager for my own project. So if I go back here, all I did during the session was to drop in the tour matcher overview and said, can you help me build a product requirements document using this high-level overview? And then this was the project overview that I talked you through earlier. Now, what ChatPRD is then able to do is then start building out a product requirements document according to ChatPRD's template. So the too long didn't read. Holiday Tour Matcher web app helps holiday reps to match guests with suitable local tours. These are some sample business goals. These are the goals for the individual users. And non-goals, at the moment, we're not implementing global destinations. We're just focusing on individual locals. And we're not allowing guests to self-book. It's the rep that's going to be using this. ChatPRD has defined some user stories. As a holiday rep, I want to view all guests at the resort. I want to be able to filter tours. I want to be able to book tours directly from the app. As a guest, I want my preferences to be taken into account so that I got a personalized experience. Now we have some functional requirements around guest management, the tour selection, the booking and confirmation process, a bit about the user experience for those holiday reps, a narrative. A holiday rep at a bustling resort sits down with the guests, eager to explore the local culture. The app effortlessly pulls up John and Jane Doe's profiles, noting their taste for culinary delights, and so on, really bringing the story to life of what this product is going to do. Some success metrics, business metrics, technical metrics, and then we get into some of the technical considerations. We've already said in our requirements document we're going to be using Lovable, we're going to be using Supabase, and then we've got a high-level project plan here. Now, if I was not doing this for a demo, I would then be interacting through chat with ChatPRD. Actually, here are my business goals. Here are some other user stories that I want to introduce. Here are some technology considerations that I've not made you aware of yet. So this becomes a discussion-based process as ChatPRD continues to develop the document. And now, if I click here, what ChatPRD has done is to create that as a document that could be shared amongst your product team. It could be shared with potential users or other teams. This is the product that we're aiming to build. What I'm then able to do is to export that, and I've exported that to Google Drive. I already did that during the session. So if I go back to Claude now, I can then say, I want to get the web app PRD, add that to my project. Now, this is fantastic because that's now a live document. And as I make edits to that document, Claude is going to have the background to my project already. So why have we done all of that, and why have we done it in Claude? Well, now we can start to get to the point of architecting our project and moving into building it. So I'm going to be using a tool now called Wispr Flow, which is where I'm talking to my laptop, and I'll just show you that here. So wisprflow.ai, you download it for free, whether you're on Windows or Mac. And you have a shortcut key on my Mac. It's the function one. And when I press that, it listens to what I'm saying, and it will then dictate it into the input box wherever my cursor is. So as I start going through the rest of this session, I'm going to be talking a bit, and it just saves me typing. And I find now that when I'm coding, when I'm doing any kind of project work, I just talk to my laptop rather than typing. I'm able to get a lot more context, a lot more fidelity across than I would if I was typing a lot more quickly. So I'll go to Claude here. Hey, Claude, in your project knowledge, you have got a web app PRD for our tour matching application. To start with, I would like you to document the individual user screens that we will need to have in our application. I don't need the details of what's on each screen at the moment. I just want you to have a think through the screens that we will need to build so that this thing is usable both for the rep and also for an administrator at the back end. So that's the Wispr Flow. I was talking and it's just put that straight in there, and I'm now going to click go. Now you'll notice that I did not have to provide any additional context. I'm just referencing that in the project knowledge, we've got this information. So I've reviewed the documents for your Tour Matcher application, and I'm now going to outline the key screens that you need. You need authentication screens. We need some holiday rep screens, main dashboard, guest list, guest search, guest profile viewer. Okay, excellent. Then we're going to need some admin screens, a tour roster, booking management, support screens. Okay, this is great. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask it to create an artifact, which is a document that we can reference again. Hey, Claude, can you turn this list into an artifact that I can add to the project, please? And so what Claude does is going to spin up a document over on the right-hand side of the page. And this is great when you're working on anything creative, because you can start to edit and treat this thing as an entity that is separate from the chat itself on the left. Why I find this useful is that you can then add this to the project and it becomes part of your project knowledge that you can then refer to again. So I'm going to add that to the current project. If I go back to my thing here, we've now got the screen architecture that we've just added. Let me delete this one that I did yesterday. Tour Matcher screen architecture, and this breaks it all down. Here are the authentication screens, core navigation, and so on. Okay, great. So now for each of those screens, I want Claude to help me to determine what needs to be on each of those screens. Hey, Claude, in your project knowledge, you've got the Tour Matcher app screen architecture. For each of these screens, I'd now like you to document what needs to be on that page, including any text, any components, any images, any call to action, so that we can then take that information and drop it into Lovable as we start to build out our application. Okay, so now Claude, using all of that information, is now able to help me to architect each of those pages. Let's start documenting each screen's requirement. So authentication screens, we need a login screen. Here's the logo, the headline, the sub-headline. Here are the components, the actions, and any additional notes. Now, this is fantastic because we've gone through the process of creating the product requirements document, the PRD, because we've gone through determining each of the individual pages, it makes it super easy for Claude to now document everything that we need on each of these. So I'll let that build out. There's quite a few pages here. And what I will do whilst that is building out, I'm now going to introduce you to Lovable. So Lovable is a European success story based in Stockholm. They are growing at an incredible rate. Adding on at last call was around $2 million of annual revenue being added on every single week because so many people are starting to build with it. They've built a really engaging user front end to enable non-developers to bring their ideas to life. It is perfect for a proof of concept, for a mock-up, and even for limited web apps to bring things to production where we're actually running these things out for your customers. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to ask Lovable to set us up a blank project. Hey Lovable, can you set up a blank project for a travel tour guide matching application? I just want a CRO optimized hero image and a blank project that we can start to add some project knowledge to. Okay, so now let me just say, can you make sure you're setting up the project? Okay, so now Lovable is spinning up our project, and hopefully this will take a few moments. For this first version, I'll implement a clean, elegant hero section with a stunning travel image, smooth animations and transitions, responsive design, refined typography, and perfect spacing. And so whilst that carries on building out that, let's just go back to Claude. Is Claude still writing? This looks quite long. Maybe it's got to the end of its... Okay, this detailed breakdown should give you a comprehensive view. Okay. Can you create this as an artifact, please? So here we've got all of our individual pages for our project. Now, one of the key reasons for doing all of this pre-work that we've been doing is that you get a much better output from your development if you have got the details of every single page, you've architected everything, you know what you want on each page. Much better than taking our initial tour matcher idea and just dropping it into Lovable. So this is just spinning this up. I've created this. Okay. All right. Okay. So here is just off that first prompt. This is just with the just with that initial prompt. Find a guide, how it works. What we've just got an index page here for us to start to work on. So now what we're going to do is to start to build out our initial pages. So let me just take the first one from up here whilst that one builds out the artifact that we'll use moving forwards. Okay, so we've got a login screen. There we go. Whoop. Okay, here's the details of the login screen. And then before we do that, I am just going to go to project settings, and I am going to just take a little bit of our overview of Tour Matcher. In fact, I'm going to take our PRD. Let me go back here. Web PRD. And I'm going to take all of this. There we go. That's our overview of the project. And I'm just going to add this into the project knowledge. There we go. So we're giving Lovable all of the information about what it is that we're trying to build. Okay, so now we've now got our artifact here. I'm going to add that to the project. And here we go. Tour Matcher app screen specifications. So first off, I want to add in a login screen. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to go to Lovable. I'm going to say, okay, we are now going to build out the application screen by screen. I have documented each of the screens and what is to go on to each screen. We're going to go screen by screen. And the first one is the login screen, and the requirements are listed below. And so now I'm just going to copy in the details and click go. So let's just go back to show you what we've got here. Okay, we're now going to build out the application screen by screen. And here is the login screen. We want the content, a logo, a headline, welcome to Tour Matcher, components, email input, password, and so on. And then the actions. I'll create a login screen for the Tour Matcher application with all the requirements you specified. Okay, so I've spent a bit of time just chatting with Lovable in the left-hand side here. And before I get too deep into actually building out a travel matching application, which is not my goal here, I'm going to stop and just show you a little bit about what has happened. Now, because we did the 70% of work up front, which was about defining the user screens, drafting a product requirements document, adding all of that in as project knowledge, what Lovable has been able to do very simply is to create all of the individual pages that we want in our project, a dashboard, a list of guests, an individual guest profile, setting up new guests, tours, tour IDs, and so on. And so for each of these, we've got the information, and we uploaded a list of all of the Las Vegas tours that our deep research concluded. So we have all of that here. And it is super easy for me now as a rep to be able to say, right, here's my dashboard. I now want to match a new guest. I want to be able to say, right, or I want Robert to be able to book onto a specific tour. I could have some filters here. I could find a specific tour, and I could book him onto it. Now, that is kind of the guts of the project. If I was actually building this out for myself, that's when you get into making sure that all of the individual user flows and the data and the security and so on are set up correctly. But I hope in that exercise, it gives you an idea that just by talking to your laptop, you can bring your ideas to life. Now, if you're in a non-development role, maybe you're in product, maybe you're in an R&D role, just the ability to come up with an idea and bring it to life that you can click on it and click around and show and get feedback on it, it's so important. So let me just summarize a lot of what we've looked at over this session. So first off, I showed you Wispr Flow, which is the tool that I use for talking to my laptop instead of typing. I then showed you ChatGPT Deep Research and Grok Search for pulling out those detailed analyst reports. We used it for finding those Las Vegas tours. I showed you ChatPRD as a great way for building out product requirements documents that are going to go and input into the product that you're building. I then showed you how you can use the Google Drive integration into a Claude project to provide all of this context into Claude so that you can start asking questions without having to provide that context each time. We then looked at using Claude to map out the individual user screens and the layout for each of those screens. And then we created a blank project in Lovable and added in one by one each of those screens. I then added in some project knowledge, which actually was the product requirements document from ChatPRD. And then I built out screen by screen. Now, you could then change the look and feel of what it is that you've built. That's really where your expertise comes in. But hopefully what you've seen there is that step-by-step flow of taking a very basic idea, adding some more structure to it, and then using a tool like Lovable to bring that idea to life as a proof of concept that you can then share with potential customers, with other people in your team, and turn it into a formal project. I hope that was useful. Really look forward to hearing what you build with these tools. And if you have any questions, just get in touch through my website, charliecowan.ai.